let's rewind to mid-2025. The relationship between the world's two largest democracies, well, it was in an absolute freefall. A crisis was brewing that was about to bring them to the very brink of an all-out trade war. I mean, you had experts calling it the lowest point in 20 years. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife, and it was threatening to undo decades of partnership building. It was a big deal, shaking up alliances all across the Indo-Pacific. And what was the cause of all this? This one staggering number, 50%. A 50% total tariff slammed on Indian goods by the United States. And this wasn't just one thing, it was a 25% reciprocal tariff, with another 25% penalty piled on top over India's Russian oil imports. Now, as you can imagine, New Delhi was furious, calling the move unfair and unjustified. But Washington, they held firm. For a minute there, it really looked like a major economic and diplomatic break was about to happen. But then, in a complete reversal that stunned pretty much everyone, everything changed. The anger, the threats of retaliation, it all just melted away, replaced by a historic agreement. So what on earth happened? How did they pull back from the brink? To really understand this new deal, we first have to get a feel for just how bad things got. The whole situation escalated incredibly fast, and it got incredibly tense. Just look at this timeline. August 1st, 2025, the U.S. hits India with that first tariff. Not even a month later, they double it to 50%. By September, you're hearing reports that India is hitting back where it hurts, pausing major defense deals. But then, bam, February 2026, a complete pivot. They're announcing a new trade agreement. And we're not talking about some minor tweak here. This was a complete 180-degree U-turn in policy, in rhetoric, in everything. This slide just lays out the contrast perfectly. You go from these punitive 50% tariffs down to a much more reasonable 18% reciprocal tariff. The language completely flips from unfair to mutually beneficial, and the whole idea of a looming trade war, it's replaced by plans for an even bigger, broader deal. So what gives? What caused this incredible shift? Well, the answer goes way beyond just dollars and cents, and it gets right to the heart of why the United States sees its partnership with India as absolutely essential to its global strategy. Let's start with the first, and you could argue the most important reason, the massive geopolitical reality of a rising China. At its very core, U.S. strategy in the 21st century really hinges on a strong, prosperous, and friendly India. In Washington, India is seen as the critical democratic counterweight to China's authoritarian influence across the entire Indo-Pacific region. And you can see why their interests line up so well here. Both countries are cornerstones of the Quad Alliance, that big strategic dialogue with Japan and Australia. Plus, the U.S. desperately needs partners like India to build new, secure supply chains that aren't dependent on China. As experts were screaming at the time, picking a trade fight with New Delhi was a strategic disaster that risked pushing India away and undoing years of progress.
Okay, the second pillar builds right on top of this. This isn't just about geopolitics anymore. It's about forging a real tech alliance for the future. See, the U.S. needs India not just as a place to sell things, but as a high-tech partner.
This new trust initiative makes it official. It's a really ambitious plan to work together on the most critical technologies of our time. We are talking about the whole shebang: semiconductors, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and all those critical minerals you need to make it all happen. And this is already leading to actual concrete results. The Shakti Partnership is a groundbreaking deal to co-produce essential semiconductors in India. These are the chips that are vital for everything from national security and 5G to green energy. That shows a level of trust that goes way beyond a simple trade relationship. Now for the final pillar, and honestly, this one might be the most telling of all. Even while the economic relationship was completely falling apart, the security partnership was actually thriving. And this is the crucial point. The defense and security ties between the U.S. and India, they seem to operate on a completely separate, much more stable track. They're so important that they were protected even when the politicians were throwing economic punches at each other. I mean, just look at this timeline from 2025, the very year of the crisis. In January, a deal to co-produce submarine hunting tech. In February, an alliance for maritime drones. In October, a whole new 10-year defense framework. And in December, a major maintenance deal. The message couldn't be clearer. The strategic partnership is absolutely non-negotiable. So when you put all of these pieces together, you start to see that this trade agreement isn't just a deal. It is a massive, strategic wager by both countries on the future of the global economy.
And this slide just breaks down the calculus perfectly. For the US, the big win is cementing India as its primary ally against China. The risk? Having to accept India's famous strategic autonomy, their independent foreign policy. For India, the prize is huge, access to the $30 trillion US market and its cutting-edge tech. The risk is that it might limit its own policy choices and have to make some tough economic changes at home.
In the end, both sides looked at the board and decided the potential rewards were worth the risks. But this leaves us with a really critical question for the future. In a world where you really can't separate economics from national security anymore, is this deal just a temporary marriage of convenience, or are we actually witnessing the creation of a new foundational block for the 21st century global order?